Good morning, first graders. Today we are on page 41 of our student journal. And our objective or goal for today is, today I will organize, represent, and interpret data using picture graphs. So this is going to be the third day of us working on these picture graphs. Okay, let's look at our vocabulary. And remember, a picture graph is a graph showing information using pictures. So this graph's title is Favorite Shapes, and the choices were sphere, cube, and cylinder. And we have 2 pictures of spheres, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pictures of cubes, and 1, 2, 3 pictures of cylinders. Okay, so it's the pictures representing how many votes there were. Okay, our steps today are, if needed, we're going to represent each person's vote with a picture, and then we're going to answer questions about the graph. Okay, boys and girls, I'm going to pick up my red pen, which means you can put down your pencil just to watch for a moment. And here's my first problem. And my first problem, the title of this graph is Our Favorite Geometric Shapes. And the choices were sphere, cone, and hexagon. Okay, so sphere had, let's count how many votes they had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cone had 1, 2, 3. And hexagon had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So now we've found our totals, we can answer our questions. So our first question says, how many people chose cone and hexagon all together? All together is an adding keyword. It's a keyword for addition. So they want me to add cone and hexagon together. Well, cone, there was how many cones? 3. And there were how many hexagons? 8. So they want to know cone and hexagon together. So I can add like this, or if I can't add like this, I can count my pictures. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or I might be able to know how to add 3 plus 8, which is 11. Okay, let's look at our next question. How many people chose sphere and cone all together? So sphere, what was sphere? Sphere was 7, and cone was 3. So I need to add 7 plus 3. So I can add it with my fingers, I can add it in my mind, or I can count the sphere and the cone together, and I get 10 when I do it. Okay, boys and girls, I'm going to do another one with you. Here's my next one. Okay, this one, the title is called Tony's Buttons. And this time they didn't draw the pictures for me. They left all the pictures up here and I need to put them in my picture graph. So I have circle, square, and triangle. So remember when I do this, I'm going to cross them off as I count them. So I'm going to count my circles first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 circles, so I'm going to draw them now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there were 10 circles. Okay, my next shape says square, so I'm going to count my squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. Okay, then I'm going to check my triangles. So that's my next shape. 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. So 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. Okay, so now that I made my graph, now I can answer my question. So what do I have first? How many circle and square buttons does Tony have all together? All together means I'm going to add. So how many circles were there? There was 10 circles plus how many squares? 6. So I could add those, or if I can't add, I can look at my circle and square together and count them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So there were 16 of those two together. Okay, let's look at my next question. How many shaped buttons does Tony have all together? So how many buttons does he have all together? Well, he has 10 circle, plus he has 6 squares, plus he has 4 triangles. So I could either add that if I knew how, or I already know that the circle and the square is 16, so I could add 4 more and go 17, 18, 19, 20, or I could just count all my shapes together. So there's lots of different ways, but my answer is 20. Okay, boys and girls, we're gonna try some together. So I'm gonna put down my red pen and grab my green pen. And we are on page 42, so please open your book to page 42. And here is our problem. And our title of this graph is Shapes in a Basket. And we have rectangle shapes, square shapes, and triangle. So let's start by counting them first. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rectangles. How many squares do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. And how many triangles do we have? 1. Okay, so now that we have our totals, now we can answer some of our questions. So let's answer our questions. Our first question says, how many votes did squares and triangles all together? So squares and triangles. So the square and the triangle, how many was all together? So we have to add those. So the square had 6, the triangle had 1. So you could add 6 plus 1, or we could count them again. But I know that 6 and 1 more is 7. Okay, let's look at our next question. How many shapes are in the basket all together? So all the shapes all together. Well, there's 7 rectangle, there's 6 square, and there's 1 triangle. So we could add this, or we could just count all of our shapes. We might just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There are 14 shapes in my basket. Okay, boys and girls, let's do another one together. So let's turn the page to page 43. Okay, and this is what we should see. This time we see that they didn't make our picture graph for us. They put all the shapes up here and we have to make it. Okay, so our title is Button Shapes in the Jar. So we have square buttons, hexagon buttons, and triangle. Let's first count our squares. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I counted 5 squares, so now let's draw 5 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. Okay, hexagons are a little tricky to draw, so we're just going to do the best we can when we draw these. But let's first count how many we need to draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I counted 7. Now again, when you try to draw these, just do the best you can because they're kind of tricky. There are these 6-sided shapes, and if you don't get all 6 sides, it's okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Boys and girls, if you need to pause the video to finish your picture, that's okay, but you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hexagons. Okay, let's count our next shape, triangle. I see 1, 2, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 triangles. Okay, now that we have our totals and we drew our picture graph, now we can answer our questions. So our first question says, how many square and triangle buttons are in the basket all together? So square and triangle, and all together means add. So how many square do we have? We have 5 square, plus we have 3 triangle. So what is 5 plus 3? You can use your fingers if you need to, or we can count our shapes. We can count the square shapes and the triangle. But I know that 5, and then if I add 3 more, I get 6, 7, 8. So I know my answer is 8. Okay, let's look at our next question. How many square and hexagon buttons are in the basket all together? So now they want me to add the square, which how many squares are there? 5. How many hexagons are there? 7. How many square and those? So you can count different ways. I might just count my square and hexagon. So how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I counted 12 square and hexagon. So that's my answer. Okay, boys and girls, you're going to keep practicing this on your own today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.